Welcome to the studio. I didn't even plan on making a video tonight, but something happened and I wanted to share it, and I figured that this was probably the best way to do it. 3D printing is such an interesting hobby, such an interesting niche. It can be so creative, it can be so therapeutic, it's very passionate for a lot of people, and inspiring even. And tonight, here on the ranch, some neighbors that live up here on the mountain came by, and our dog was over at their place today hanging out while they were working, and they decided they'd walk across the mountain and bring him back tonight. And when they got here, I walked into the studio and I brought him in with me, and they don't speak English very well. I don't speak Spanish, not very much, and so the language barrier is always fun and entertaining. And they came into the studio, and their eyes were this big, and they saw the lights and the cameras, and they saw the 3D printers and the filament, and I saw the look on that young man, that teenager's face, the sparkle in the eyes, this discovery. And I looked at him and I went, you know, this young guy needs a 3D printer. And I know that they don't have a lot, but they need one. And so I looked around at what printer I could give them. I have a couple of hundred printers here that I could give them. And I thought they needed a simple to use, small, efficient, good for beginner printer. And so I actually gave them my personal Bambu Lab A1 Mini. And so I showed it to him, and his eyes lit up with excitement. The father, extremely grateful, full of gratitude, and filled me with a lot of excitement, a lot of love for the journey that they'd be going down, because it's the same journey that we've all been through, right? That journey of having this device in front of you that can create something, that you can watch something from plastic manifest itself right in front of you, and the first time that you hold that print in your hand, it changes the way that you see the world. And I looked at his face and I thought, I can't wait for this to happen. And so they walked over here across the mountain. So I sent them on their way and said, I'll be at your place in an hour. And so I grabbed my son Van, and we grabbed the A1 Mini. We cleaned it up and got it ready and loaded some files on it, because they don't have Wi-Fi. So they're gonna have to do things with the micro SD card, and we'll work that out later. So we loaded some files on it that they could print, and we grabbed a stack of Polymaker filament, I think like a dozen spools. We threw it in the truck and we headed over there with my wife, because she can speak a little bit more Spanish than I can. And when we arrived, I think that there was a lot of confusion. It's a cool looking tech device, but what does it do? And so we put it on their kitchen table, and they gathered around, and we loaded spools of filament on it and showed them how to cut the filament, how to load it on there. And this is always fun. This is fun with the language barrier. And we printed a Benchy in orange PLA, and they were watching it. And I would say that in the very beginning, it was very anticlimactic, right? There wasn't a lot of excitement as it began to lay down the first little bits of plastic. But as it started to get up there in layers, like 10, 15, 20 layers, and it started the infill, I noticed that they were getting closer to the printer, and they began to look and use their phone flashlights and look at the print as it was printing. And I could hear them, as they're going back and forth in Spanish, and they're amazed at what's happening in front of them. And then the mother, who I would say probably didn't care as much, all of a sudden went and grabbed a fly swatter. She brought it over, and she's like, in her best mime impression, I don't know, without speaking in English to us, motioned, "Can it do this?" And we said yes. Absolutely it can. And you could see this sparkle and this light in her eyes. And she got a spoon, like a big plastic spoon. And she's like, can it make these? I said, yes, absolutely it can. And then the son was standing there looking at it, and you could see that he was getting more and more interested in it. And the father was watching it. And I saw something in him that I saw in my father when I was much younger. And I'm gonna tangent for a moment. On a Saturday morning, I believe, I think it was Saturday, back in the 80s, my father walked into the house with a brand new Texas Instrument computer, brand new TI. And he set it down in the living room, and he called the whole family to come in. And he said, boys, these computers are the future. You should learn them. We're like, okay. And he walked out of the room. And I was the youngest boy. And my brothers tore into it and opened it up and connected it up to a television. And that began the tech change in our family. These things can change lives. And I watched that father look at his teenage son, and in English, he told him, watch. He said, learn. Because I really want you to watch this, learn this. And then father looked at me and he said, I'm not going to be here forever, and I can't take care of my family forever. And he looked at his son and he looked back at me and he said, you've been very kind to us. And this technology can change our lives. And all of this is happening from a 3D printer being given to someone. It's almost something that if you're not in this industry, you don't understand. And they watched the print finish, and when it was done, they all took turns holding it in their hands, amazed at what had just happened. The mother motioning to the spool of filament on the printer and back to this orange Benchy. Like, it was incredible to her what had just happened. Both the mother and the father at the same time immediately said, wait a minute, can you sell things that you 3D print? And we said, absolutely, yes. Yeah, there's a million things that you could 3D print and sell. And back and forth in Spanish, and I didn't understand a word. And occasionally they were so excited that they would start speaking to me in Spanish. And I'm like, hold on, wait, and I'd have to go, English, English. And then they would laugh, and then the father would try and find the right words in English to communicate to me. But ultimately, what we witnessed tonight was just so special. And it happens so often in 3D printing. I don't understand why. And maybe you can help me understand why. Why is it that 3D printing has this incredible ability to get people so inspired and there's so much emotion, so much passion in creating with these silly little devices that spit plastic out? Maybe you can help me understand. But with that, I wanted to share that with you. Van was there, and Van was finding it difficult to communicate as well. And so Van began to pull out his phone, and he'd scroll through Maker World, and he would show all of the things from measuring cups to fishing lures to bowls and cups, all of the things that they could print with this 3D printer. And every time he showed it to them, they just were so excited. And with that, we left him for the evening. And I said that we'd come back later, probably this week or on the weekend, and I would be bringing an adapter and for their micro SD card, and I'll sit down with them and spend some time showing them how to use a slicer and how to get those files over to that A1 Mini. Like I said, they don't have Wi-Fi, and so I thought that I wanted to share that with you. and I don't know any other format to share it and to get people to understand how important 3D printing is and sharing 3D printing with everyone. And this video is not going to do well. It's the wrong type of content, I think, for our YouTube channel, but nonetheless, I wanted to share it. And thank you for listening, and I hope that it inspires you, and I hope that maybe one day you have an opportunity to take one of those 3D printers that you have and change someone's life with it. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you in the next one.